Dinosaurs at the zoo. Sunday I came up with a new plan. On Monday, my class was going to the zoo, and I decided to take the beast with me. I figured that once we were around other people, he'd be quiet. I found my old little red kid's backpack in the garage. I'd stuff him in it and put it inside my own backpack. Then I'd just leave him somewhere at the zoo. He could live wild there. If anyone came near him, he would look like a model, so he couldn't hurt anyone, I hoped. Monday, Dad set out some chunks of beef to thaw for stew. When no one was looking, I swiped 3. They were frozen solid, so I popped it into the microwave to defrost for a minute before I slid them into a baggie. I'd give the beast water but no food, so he'd be extra hungry. One last time, I shoved aside my dresser. I laid my red backpack on the floor, stuffed it in a layer of newspaper to line the bottom, and dumped the raw meat inside. The beast smelled it. Even through the shut closet doors, he started to roar. I opened the doors to a crack and pushed the top of the backpack inside. I tried to waft some of the smell of raw meat to the beast, but he just flung himself at the gap between the doors and clawed, trying to pry the doors apart. I tugged the bag wide open and the closet doors and let him out. He hurled himself out of the closet. I jumped back and grabbed the duvet off my bed to protect myself. But he didn't go far before he started sniffing. He turned to the backpack lying near the closet and burrowed into it, searching for the meat. I held it open for him, and once he was eating, I closed the bag around him and zipped it up. I couldn't hear him devouring the meat while I finished getting ready. First, I pulled some clean pants out of the closet, cleaned up the closet floor, fed Steggy, and pulled out my own backpack. Then I emptied all the junk out of the bottom of my backpack and stuffed in the beast in his bag. I slid my notebook and pencil case down inside the red backpack and set my lunch on top. With that, I was ready to go. At least I hope I was. My class met in front of the school. It was sunny but cool. With the sharp spring wind, Kyle stood to one side, arms crossed, looking bored, but tough at the same time. No one went near him. No one came near me either. When the yellow school bus pulled up, we all raced to him. Miss Dubus stood by the steps and ticked off our names on her clipboard as we climbed on. Kyle hung back. He wasn't going to push through the crowd, but he'd get the back seat anyway. Nobody wanted to argue with him about that. I asked Miss Dubus if I could sit with her. That way I'd be at the front of the bus, far from Kyle. She looked at me, surprised, until I said I wanted to tell her more about my dinosaur models. Then she smiled and patted my head. Sweet boy, her smile said. I flushed but stuck with it. Having her think I was sweet was better than sitting near Kyle. I sat in front of the seat by the door. Kyle sneered as he walked past me. When Miss Dubus had all the kids and volunteer parents seated and counted, she sat beside me with a sigh, clipboard on her lap. She wore black glasses. Her straight brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail. When Mom first met her, she was shocked at how young Miss Dubé was. She seems pretty old to me, but she's nice. We talked a little about making dinosaur models, but mostly she stayed busy keeping everyone quiet to hear Kyle bugging other kids, but he didn't bother me. I was in the only safe spot on the bus. My stomach flipped every time the bus bumped over a pothole and I slid into my backpack. But the beast stayed quiet. I sat twitching with nervousness, praying my plan would work, terrified it wouldn't. When I got really fidgety, Miss Dubé turned to me and smiled. Excited, she asked. I smiled weakly. We had an idea, I thought. What I said was, oh yeah, I love the zoo, especially the dinosaur park. Are we going there? We'll have some time after lunch to divide into groups and go to our favorite parts of the zoo, she said. You'll get there. I grinned yes. That's when I'd leave the beast. When we got to the zoo, everyone gathered around the parent volunteers. Some kids stood near the parents and their friends crowded close so they'd be in the same group. The rest of us stood around looking awkward. I could see Miss Dubé glancing from Kyle to me, to the parents. I could tell she was planning on pairing us up. I took a quick look over the groups. Then I walked over to Jenny, who was standing alone with her mom. Can I be in your group, I asked. Jenny's really small. She looked up at me, her blonde hair swinging back from her face. Sure, she said, looking surprised. No one wanted to be with Jenny because she was the bossiest girl in the whole school. Kyle couldn't stand her. He didn't dare bug her, and he'd do anything to stay out of her group. Miss Dubé put a couple of other kids with us, quiet kids who wouldn't argue with Jenny. She bosses us all day, but I didn't care. Being bossed by Jenny was infinitely better than being bullied by Kyle. One day started with a lecture on animal care. Then we watched the elephants having a bath. We finished the morning making treats for the gorillas in the loft above the otters. Miss Dubé pulled out a bag filled with toilet paper tubes we'd collected. I grabbed a tube and sat down near the end of the long table. I checked on the beast. She was quiet, still motionless. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then I looked up straight at Kyle, staring at me from across the table. We blocked one end of the tubes with cardboard and edible glue and filled the tubes with popcorn and spices. I couldn't figure out why gorillas would like all those strong spices, but I wasn't about to ask. I just kept my head down and worked trying to ignore Kyle. He didn't like being ignored. Hey Lucas, he whispered as soon as Miss Dubé was at another table. Maybe we can feed you to the gorillas, except they'd probably throw you back. Then he paused and made a face and said in a squeaky voice, Ew, red hair, I'm not eating that. Well, the kids around us laughed. I stuffed my tube full of covered the top end with cardboard. Don't react, just don't react, I repeated to myself. We ate lunch in the loft on the floor against the wall, leaving Kyle at the table cracking jokes. When I pulled out my lunch bag, I could feel the beast shifting around. After lunch, we took our gorilla snacks to the gorilla enclosure. It's huge, with lots of places for gorillas to climb and play and walkways for people to watch from. We took turns tossing the snacks off the top pathway down to the gorillas. Then we raced down the steps to watch the gorillas fight over them. One smart girl gorilla found 2 snacks, but some older boy stole them from her. Just like Kyle, I thought, bullies everywhere. Finally, we had a free hour to explore our favorite spots. I joined the kids going to the dinosaur park. Jenny wanted to see the kangaroos, but Kyle joined our group. Miss Dubé looked pleased. She was determined for us to be friends. Some people think it's weird to have a dinosaur park in a zoo. After all, a zoo is supposed to be about live animals, but it's my favorite part. It landscapes to look like southern Alberta did when dinosaurs lived here, with primitive plants and weird rocks formations all through it. Dinosaur models gaze and wade in the pond and loom over the pathways. It's the coolest place in Calgary and my second favorite place in the world. My absolute number one favorite is the Dinosaur Museum in Drumheller, the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology, but we only get out there a few times a year, so the zoo was closed. Close second. Our volunteers said we could go anywhere we wanted as long as we stayed in the dinosaur park and met her in exactly 1 hour. That worked for me. I stood in the center of the dinosaur park on a high spot overlooking the lake. A few last patches of snow gleamed white in shady spots, green sprouts up in the gardens. I had trouble imagining dinosaurs surrounded by snow and surviving on tiny spring shoots, but it was the best time to see the dinosaurs as they loomed over the bare gardens. But late summer, they would be hidden in the plants. Now, if I could just stay from Kyle and get rid of the beast, my day would be perfect. I looked around for some place to leave the bag. There was sort of a cave I thought would be a good spot to hide it. I pretended I really was in land of dinosaurs as I followed the path around the volcano and slipped into the cave. I waited until I was alone, then I opened my backpack. Checking over my shoulder to make sure nobody was coming, I pulled the little red backpack out of my backpack and set it on the ledge. The beast was quiet, still gorging on meat, I hoped. I shoved the bag far back into a corner, gave it a little pat goodbye, and slipped out. The rest of the hour in the dinosaur park was so much fun. Whenever I spotted Kyle, I avoided him like he was a Tyrannosaurus, and I was a smaller and much more clever dinosaur. I checked out every dinosaur in the park and imagined what I would create if I was hired to make more. When I was finally time to leave, we gathered just inside the gates while Miss Dubé checked us off her clipboard. I stood listening to Jenny, insisting that we stay together and not climb on the rocks. I was ignoring her, imagining making more dinosaur models. When Kyle showed up, he was carrying my little red backpack. He held it like it was his, like he was trying to draw my attention to it. But Miss Dubé noticed right away. I drew back into the crowd of kids, hoping she wouldn't see me. "What's that, Kyle?" she asked. He said, trying to look casual. But she was already reaching for it. I found this," he said, "in the dinosaur park. I don't know who it belongs to." My heart stopped as she opened the bag. What if the beast attacked? I imagined him leaping up, claws ripping at her cheek. But when he lifted out, he was just a model. "This looks like one of Lucas's," she said. She looked up and scanned the group of kids until she spotted me. "Lucas," she said. I sighed and stepped forward. "Is this yours?" she asked. I was about to deny it when Kyle smiled a fake smile and handed me the bag. I nodded and took the beast from Miss Dubé's. "I must have put it down and forgotten it," I said. "Thanks, Kyle." Miss Dubé said, "Why don't you two sit together on the way home?" I looked at her, horrified. Then Jenny, of all people, saved me. "He's going to sit with me," she said. "I want to learn how to make dinosaurs." She glared at Kyle, daring him to complain, with her mom and Miss Dubé there. He couldn't say anything, but he grinned at me and he walked away. "I couldn't do anything worse to you than a bus ride with Jenny," his grin said. As Kyle strode off in front of the class and Jenny bugged everyone to keep up, I slipped off to a garbage can and dropped the little red backpack into it. Goodbye, you monster, I said as I walked away. I had to run to catch up to the others. Jenny grabbed my arms and hurried me to the rest of the class, scolding all the way. I didn't care. Inside I was laughing.